各位车迷大家好，看完了美国方程式大赛车，那当然这方程式跟一级方程式不一样了，它是属于重型车超过900cc以上的比赛。那刚才那场比赛非常的过瘾，紧接着系列也是一连串的在不同的赛道上的竞争，非常的激烈。我们到现场去看一看。
The WERA Pro Series began back in March in Florida. Unfortunately, the Sunshine State greeted riders with monsoon conditions. The skies relented just enough for Team Suzuki to notch yet another endurance victory. The sprint portion of the program had to be rescheduled. Road Atlanta was next. Formula USA belonged to Floridian John Ashmead on his Peter Brady Kawasaki. While in Formula 2, it was all Yamaha as Chris D'Aluzio won a hard-fought battle over former WERA champ Rich Oliver. From the steamy southeast to the rainy northwest, Seattle International Raceway hosted a Team Valvoline Suzuki Fest as number 96 Michael Martin and number 24 Chuck Graves finished 1-2 overall in Formula USA. Reigning Formula 2 champ Kurt Hall also tasted the winner's champagne in Washington. Next, it was the makeup of the Moroso Park washout. The Florida track was again without sunshine, but that didn't matter for local hot shoe Michael Barnes. He won both legs of Formula USA and Formula 2. And that brings us up to date. 3 rounds are in the books. The WERA Pro Series now comes to the California desert, Willow Springs International Raceway. It's the California Cycle Jam Nationals, and it's next on Cycle World.
Cycle World presents WERA Pro Series Road Racing.
Willow Springs is one of the busiest tracks in the United States. Cars, bikes, karts, testing. This 2 1/2 mile course, about an hour and a half northeast of Los Angeles, is known for high speed, desert heat, and strong wind gusts. It's also known as the home of WERA's California Cycle Jam, round 4 of the 6th event WERA Pro Series. Hello everyone, I'm Larry Myers. Welcome to Rosemont, California, located in between the Sierra Nevada and the Mojave Desert. And I want to tell you, it's a typical July day here in the desert. In a word, hot. Today on Cycle World, it's the Western Eastern Road Racers Association Pro Series Road Racing. We'll have flag-to-flag coverage of the unique 190-mile-per-hour Formula USA class, as well as the nimble, super-fast Formula 2 Grand Prix class. And we'll highlight the Formula 3 class. This category is unique to WERA and the World Championship Series. I guarantee you'll be entertained by these little screamers. The headliners, though, are, of course, the stars of Formula USA. The tech rules in this class are no rules. It's run what you brung. This is the main reason this class, unique to WERA, has captured the imagination of road race fans nationwide. But the FUSA bikes are only half the story. The other half is, of course, the riders that will manhandle these awesome machines. Yes, Formula USA is definitely the marquee class out here today. For more on the FUSA riders, let's go trackside to my colleague for today's broadcast, veteran motorsports analyst Larry Coleman.
Thank you, Larry. Yes, Formula USA is the premier marquee class in WERA. And here to do battle in this run-what-you-brung class is an outstanding field of racers. Let's take a look at some of these incredible athletes. At the top of the list, well, why not start with the man who sits atop the Formula USA standings? Texan Michael Martin rides for the powerful Team Valvoline Suzuki effort and is thinking championship.
My strategy for the rest of the year is just to really go out and do the best that I can at every event. It's the top 4 guys are all running right close together, so it's going to be a real dogfight for the rest of the year.
His teammate at TVS is Californian Chuck Graves. The 27-year-old is the defending race champion and is always tough here at Willow Springs. Prime Network road race analyst Dave Sadowski has traded in his microphone this weekend for a very fast Yoshimura-kitted Suzuki. The privateer from Georgia is desperate for a career-enhancing result.
Yeah, I've got to win this race, and mainly for financial reasons. I've been struggling all year long. I hadn't had a decent finish, and it's a financial burden right now just to race, and I need to pull myself out of the hole a little bit. And it's real important for me to finish up the season well to attract factory sponsorship for next year.
Lee Schertz is another one of those Californians who goes awfully fast here in the desert. The San Diego resident is on the comeback trail after an early season crash.
I crashed at Daytona last day of practice and broke my scapula, my right wrist, and my left thumb, and my right foot all at one time. And I've taken time off to heal it before I went back racing, and I've been doing a lot of training and trying to get back in shape, and I don't think that will be any effect on my riding at all this weekend.
When you talk Willow Springs, you can't leave out veteran Scott Gray. He's won a lot of races here, and he still holds the Willow Springs Superbike lap record. If he's within striking distance, look out. Second in the Formula USA standings is Santa Rosa, California's Joe Bett Williams, riding a Mike Velasco-tuned Honda 900. Velasco has wrenched for a lot of greats, including Fred Merkel and Freddie Spencer. Williams is now the recipient of all that championship expertise.
And to work with a guy like Mike Velasco is just like so, you know, he makes me feel so good. You know, he's easy to work with. He's got, you know, a reputation that speaks for itself. And it's just, you know, it's really exciting for me. You know, it really like gives me back, you know, that young fire that somebody might have, you know.
Unfortunately for Williams and Velasco, this was the scene late yesterday as the number 4 Honda was being patched up as a result of an off-road excursion. The bike is okay, but Williams is a possible scratch. More on that a little later. And last but not least, Canadian Jacques Guenet on another Mike Velasco prepared machine. And that rounds out the pre-race favorites. It's going to be good. It's going to be great. Top-notch racers on top-notch equipment. Practice is still going on behind me, but we're only moments away from the first of 2 Formula USA legs. Now, let's take a look at this challenging Willow Springs Raceway.
Willow Springs International Raceway. It's advertised as the fastest 2.5-mile, 9-turn road course in the world. Now look at the left side of your screen. That's the technical part of the racetrack. See that little nub sticking up over there? That's where they drop down to about 40 miles per hour. They're in second gear. Now they're moving from left to right. They accelerate out of that technical area into the 2 big sweepers on the right side of the screen. Now that's what this course is all about. You have to set up and hit those sweepers. 160 miles an hour flat out. Going to be exciting racing. And when we come back, we'll take a look at the starting grid for the first of 2 legs in Formula USA. Stay with us on Cycle World. Welcome back to a windy day at Willow Springs International Raceway. So windy, in fact, Southwest Motorsports' Danny Walker can hardly keep that 10-gallon hat on his head. Take a look at the Formula USA starting grid. Row 1, it's Michael Martin, Chuck Graves, and Dave Sadowski.
Danny Walker on a Yamaha 250 on row 2, and Bruce Tebow, the Willow Springs expert, on a Suzuki.
Let's check out row 3. Oliver, Harrell, and D'Aluzio. Rich Oliver, a former Formula USA champ.
Row 4, Mike Harth and Lee Schertz, both coming back from accidents.
Let's take a look at the way they line up in row 5. It's Scott Gray, next to him Robert Miller, then Chuck Sorensen. Now you Honda fans have probably already recognized a big name is missing. Joe Brett Williams, currently in second place in the Formula USA standings. Earlier we saw some video of a motorcycle that had taken a tumble. That was that big 900 Honda tuned by Mike Velasco. Well, that was the motorcycle, unfortunately, Williams was riding. He has a shoulder injury, will miss today's round. Good luck, Brett. Hopefully you'll be back with us for the next go-round. Let's take a look at the race analysis. 1992 winner here at Willow Springs was Chuck Graves. Race distance today will be 2 legs, each leg 12 laps long. Weather, 103 degrees. No chance of rain. Back to the starting grid. The first leg is just about set to get underway. There goes the green flag. They're off, and it looks like Chuck Graves with the early advantage. The heat factor, it is Graves, rider number 24. The heat factor, Larry Coleman, is going to be rough out here today.
The heat is a major factor here today, Larry. Track temperatures of 140 degrees, and that spells tire wear for these Formula USA racers. And the wind. The wind can virtually take the wheels out from underneath these motorcycles down in the Turn 8 and Turn 9 area. So the weather, the heat, the tire wear, a major factor here at Willow Springs today.
We'll talk a little bit more about that win. Meanwhile, look who's out front, Dave Sadowski. He told us at the outset of the program when you talked with him that he needed the win out here today, and he is going after it. He is it. Rider down. Rider sliding off the end of that straightaway. He's setting up. He looks to be okay. I think, Larry, that's John McMahon.
Does look like John McMahon, Larry. Looks like he's okay. He's up, so we're glad to see that he's all right, and his motorcycle will be out of contention. Tough luck on a first turn crash, or first lap crash for John McMahon.
Are we talking the heat problem in the track and the tires slipping that early in the ball game?
Actually, what we may be here is his tires, oddly enough, weren't hot enough yet. They still have to warm these tires up. It's such a fine line with these tricky tire compounds.
Meanwhile, Dave Sadowski continues to hold down the number 1 position. The early leader, he had the jump off the line. Chuck Graves in second place. Michael Martin, the points leader, is in third. They're followed closely by a privateer, Paul Harrell, in the number 4 slot. Now, the interesting point here is that Graves and Martin in contention for the championship. They're teammates, and they're sandwiched by a pair of privateers. Now, the privateers are not in contention for the title. However, the Valvoline Suzuki riders are. Take a look at this. Michael Martin is on top. He has 37 points. Drop all the way down to the number 4 slot. Just 9 points behind is his teammate, Chuck Graves. Now, Joe Brett Williams is out of this one. We already know that, so he'll not be a factor in the standings out here today. So what we're looking at is a championship battle, but it's also a battle between the privateers and the factory guy.
It is, Larry. The privateers have an opportunity here today to do well against the bigger, more well-financed teams, the factory teams. Willow Springs is an equalizer. It's one of those courses, especially during today's race with the conditions that they are, 140-degree track temperatures and a windy day, it all becomes equal for everybody. So the privateers can do well, as can the 250s. We talked about the racetrack being an equalizer. Let's look at Formula USA equipment. The Valvoline Suzuki, the GSXR 1100, setting the standards for Formula USA racing. And to bring diversity to the class, the little 250s, lightweight machines with better handling and better aerodynamics. The diversity of Formula USA, that's what makes it so unique.
Meanwhile, back to the racetrack, and Dave Sadowski continues to lead the Team Valvoline Suzuki teammates, Chuck Graves and Michael Martin. Bending around that sweeper, that's where we're hitting the turns, or the speeds rather, of 160 miles an hour. Man, it is, Martin is waving. He's doing something in one of the corners. Look at there. Martin and Graves are both emphasizing something, and I thought I saw Sadowski looking down at his motorcycle. There's some kind of a problem. There's something going on out there, Larry.
I wonder what is going on out there, Larry. With the signals like that from the two teammates, Martin and Graves, maybe a pit signal of some sort. But with Sadowski looking at his bike, maybe it's a mechanical of some sort.
Well, highly unlikely that the teammates would each be signaling the pits, and if Sadowski was indeed looking down, I'd have to think something is hanging off Sadowski's bike, maybe blowing a little oil. Regardless, it's not slowing the pace one bit. Sadowski continues to hold on to the number 1 spot, and we have a couple more contenders that have jumped into the fray. Bruce Tebow has joined the pack. He's in the number 5 position, and here's one of the 250s you were talking about. Rich Oliver, a former Formula USA champ, has jumped into the number 5, make that the number 6 position. Now, Michael Martin, the series leader, is a little bit unique when it comes to racing. We hear a lot about motorcyclists that want to jump into car racing. Well, Martin, who had experience at the Elf Winfield Formula Racing School, went the other way.
By being the top American finisher in the Elf Winfield series, I received a scholarship to go over for the full season and race Formula Renault in France, which let me drive on the good circuits over there, like Paul Ricard and Magny-Cours circuits. And it was a lot of fun for me to go over there and race all those great tracks and to be involved in that kind of racing over there.
Well, car racing's loss is motorcycle racing's gain. No two ways to look at that other than that way. Dave Sadowski, meanwhile, and Sadowski got into a wobble. Man, he just stood straight up on that motorcycle.
You know, Larry, I kind of wonder, with the way he got loose right in there, that's not a fast turn. I'm beginning to wonder maybe if there isn't some oil coming down with Sadowski.
I don't know. He just cast another look over his shoulder, maybe to see if he is laying something down. The pace is still there. He's still going very, very fast. He's not slacked off a bit. Look at this. He still holds on to the number 1 position. Now behind him, riders are starting to shuffle just a little bit. I don't know if they're having their problems getting caught up in Sadowski's or whether it's just a natural course of the racing event. But regardless, Sadowski definitely has some kind of problem. He keeps looking down, he keeps looking back. We saw that serious wobble. Pits are coming up. Let's see if Sadowski will pull in or if he continues. And Sadowski is pulling off the racetrack. Sadowski said, I have to win today. I need the bucks. And all he's going to get now is a huge repair bill.
Tough break for Dave Sadowski on that Yoshimura Suzuki. Trying so hard, obviously a mechanical problem.
I know, Dave, and I know that right now he is heartbreaking. The money is one thing. Dave loves to race, though, and you know, more than that, he loves to win. And the excitement of being here at Willow Springs, competing, the opportunity to take home the cash and the checkered flag, all of that is flashing in Dave Sadowski's mind. He's off the bike. He's walking away. That's history. They're not even going to try to put him back out there. Man, my heart goes out to that guy. While we were watching Sadowski, some passing going on. Tebow and Oliver now lead the pack. We'll be back to wrap up the first leg right after this. Welcome back to the California Cycle Jam. WERA road racing at its best. Here comes the battle for the number 1 position. Bruce Tebow has it, Oliver wants it, and Oliver takes it away.
Beautiful pass by Rich Oliver there on the 250. Again, it shows us that the 250s are more than competitive on this racetrack. Oliver, arguably the most experienced rider out there with Grand Prix experience on that 250.
Well, you pointed out earlier that here at Willow Springs, the track and the motorcycles are all equal. Let's go back and take another look at that pass. Larry, tell me how he did it, if you would, please.
Tebow on the number 70 bike leaves the door open, going high on the racetrack. Here comes Oliver underneath on the lightweight, better handling 250, and he takes care of the job and takes that position from him.
Meanwhile, back on the racetrack, Rich Oliver continues to lead Bruce Tebow. They're coming upon a back marker here. We'll see the agility of that 250 as he goes to the outside. Not much of a hole there, but Oliver took the 250 to the outside, cut right back in front of that back marker, and actually I think he picked up a couple of bike links in the process.
Yes, he did, Larry. And now another factor comes into play in this race, and that's traffic. We saw how Oliver worked his way through those slower riders, and traffic is now going to become a factor as the faster bikes start getting into those slower machines.
Well, that pass we just saw was Michael Martin. He passed that same back marker. He's in 3rd place. Behind him comes Chuck Graves. They're the 2 teammates that are fighting for the championship points lead. Back out front, it's still Oliver, and now starting to pull away slightly on Tebow. Oliver in that twisty part of the racetrack, and Tebow looking down, holds up a hand. Tebow, oh, in disgust, he just thumped his hand up and down a couple of times. He's going off in the dirt. I don't know, same problem that Sadowski had or a different one? No, this is just a complete engine failure here. He's come to a complete stop. Tebow is out of it. Oliver all alone now in the number 1 position. Martin is 2nd, Graves is 3rd, and this is the battle for 4th. We've been waiting all day for something like this to materialize. The rider in the light-colored leathers is on a 250. That's Danny Walker. Ahead of him on the 1100 is Paul Harrell.
This is what Formula USA Racing's all about, Larry. The better handling 250 out in front now as they work their way out onto the back straightaway. And we're going to start seeing the horsepower. Yep, there it is. Paul Harrell on the 1100 Suzuki with the horsepower down the straightaway. Now we're going to come down into that tricky turn 8 and 9 area, and the lighter, better handling machine of Walker on the 250 around the outside. Boy, that's a gutsy move down there in that turn 8, turn 9 area. It's windy, and it's a difficult place to make a pass like that.
Well, this first leg of the Formula USA class is winding down, and another rider going off into the pits. That looks like Kurt Hall. He's coasting to a stop. He'll be off his motorcycle. He's calling it a day. Meanwhile, out of the racetrack, Rich Oliver continues to show the rest of the field the short way around. Here's the battle for the number 2 position. Michael Martin in 2nd. It's Chuck Graves holding down the number 3 position, rider number 24. They're teammates, and they are battling for the championship. I think Graves would really like to make a pass to pick up. Oh, and there is a serious bobble. And that was Rich Oliver, the leader. Oliver almost going down. I think it does not pay to run up front. Let's take another look at that bobble by Oliver. Maybe you can see what happened.
Well, I think it's just tire adhesion and throttle response. Yeah, it's just the tires giving up just a little bit. It's so hot out there. We're reaching the end of the race, and I think it just went away a little bit.
Well, you being an ex-road racer, you can say that went away a little bit. Me, I've never been on one, and I think it went away a lot. Meanwhile, the battle for the number 2 position as the white flag comes out. This is the last lap. Heading up to the top of the screen, making the left is Rich Oliver. He's your leader, but look behind how close those 2 riders are. Meanwhile,
that's Tebow, Larry. Tebow's got his motorcycle started, and he's making his way dirt tracking it down the hill.
he looks like, that took my breath away. He looked like he was in an Enduro. Oliver, meanwhile, on a Sunday afternoon cruise. He's on cruise control. Of course, that cruise control is docked up at about 140, 150 miles per hour. But he's looking good on that 250, Larry.
Well, Rich Oliver is a very experienced rider, Larry. He's ridden for Kenny Roberts. He's had cameo appearances in Europe at races, so it doesn't surprise me he's out there in front on the little 250.
Well, I don't think it surprises Rich Oliver either. He's a racer with an awful lot of confidence. That's what it takes to run up front. This is the final lap of the first of 2 legs in this Formula USA class. A little later in the program, we're going to come back, do it all over again. Meanwhile, here's the battle for the number 2 position. Martin is in second. Graves closing from the number 3 slot. They're headed to the finish line. Graves will try to use the draft. Oliver takes the win. Here's the battle for the number 2 slot, and Graves is going to come up short. So Michael Martin, by finishing second, will pad his points lead. The guy that impressed me, though, was Rich Oliver. He took the win.
Teammates Martin and Graves in 2nd and 3rd position, and 4th and 5th position, Walker and DeLucio. A great finish for the Southwest Motorsports teammates.
Might also point out that Walker and DeLucio aboard 250s, as was Rich Oliver. So look at the scoreboard, 3 250s, 2 1100s. We'll be back with a lot more racing. Formula 3 coming up next. 46-year-old Earl Hayden has a vested interest in WERA's Formula 3 class. Now the reason, his 2 sons, Nicky and Tommy, are stars of the class. Now Earl is not just an observer. He's what you would have to call a hands-on type guy.
And his hands here, Larry, are on the back of son Tommy's number 9 125cc Honda. And off he goes back down pit lane to find yet one more son Nicky, number 69, as he brings him back into the pit area. Earl is quite a guy. He's fathered an entire team of racers, 6 kids in the family, 5 of which are actively involved in motorsports racing today. Competitors both on and off the racetrack. And, well, in fact, here we have the race for the water bottle. Who's going to come up the winner?
Nicky won the battle for the bottle. Nicky is 13, Tommy is 16. I suspect they have their brotherly spats, but at the races, it's all serious business. Here they go over the times from practice held earlier that day. They communicate with each other as to which is the best line on the racetrack. They are students. They listen to whatever anyone has to say that has to do with their racing career.
These 2 young men learn well and they ride well. Case in point, the Formula 3 race held earlier today.
125cc motorcycles, they sound a lot like, well, a cloud of bumblebees. As a matter of fact, they're not much bigger than a cloud of bumblebees. I'll tell you what, though, they provide some exciting race action. We'll go back in the pack and take a look at a battle between Nick Einach, he's rider number 6, Kevin Murray, number 742. Watch Einach, he swings to the outside, almost dwarfs that motorcycle. Here comes Murray right back in on top of him. I'll tell you what, Larry, they provide some outstanding racing.
How right you are, Larry, but you keep your eye on Nick Einach. He isn't going to be put down. There he goes down on the inside of Murray to get him back on these, as these 2 little 125s do battle. And Einach is out in front for the moment. Here's the standard for the Formula 3 class. The 125cc Honda, 160 pounds, 40 horsepower, and a 6-speed gearbox. Rumor has it that Yamaha may jump in with a machine for next year in 1994. But right now, this is the battle as it heats up in the front of the pack. Number 9, Tommy the Flying Flea Hayden.
Ahead of Hayden is rider number 501, Rodney Fee. Now that's where Fee was most of the afternoon. We're on the last lap, 2 corners to go. Watch Hayden. He gets to the outside of Fee. He takes over the number 1 position. We're going to jump ahead to the last corner on the last lap and watch Fee try to come back to regain the number 1 spot. Here it is. Here comes Fee. He goes to the inside. Hayden on the outside. Hayden grabs a handful of throttle. Looks like he has it dialed in. It's a straight shot to the finish line. Right? Well, watch this draft move. Rodney Fee just a little bit short at the line with that draft move. He needed about another 25 foot or so of racetrack. Good day for the Haydens. They finished in the number 1 and 3 positions, whereas Glenn Billings talked to Tommy Hayden.
Tommy, fine ride there. You finally nipped him at the end. Your strategy on the last lap?
Just going to try to get him there and got a good drive out of that corner. And I got by him on the back straight. And I just tried to get a good drive out of the last corner where he couldn't get by me. I thought he might because I saw him coming up, but it was pretty close.
Congratulations to you.
Thanks.
Here are the standings in the Formula 3 class. The Haydens leading the way with first and second. Rodney Fee is third, then Nancy Delgado and Marcello. Everyone knows who that is. In any event, Rodney Fee is with Glenn Billings.
You led for 99% of the race, Rodney, and then he finally got you at the end. What happened?
He's just a little bit too light for me. He's got some horsepower on me because of his weight advantage. He's trying to make a last pass draft maneuver out of the last corner, but he just didn't have the power for it. But he's having a hard charge. I didn't think he'd stick with me all that whole race, but I guess he did.
Congratulations to you.
Hey, thank you very much.
Now, if you think those guys are small and the 125 action is great, here is a treat. First time ever, a round of the 125cc World Championship in the States. It's at Laguna Seca. Larry Coleman earlier talked to the promoter, Bob Bernard.
Bob, we're all anxiously anticipating the GP at Laguna Seca in September. How are things coming together?
They're coming together really well, Larry. I'm really getting excited. There's a bit of atmosphere starting to grow and getting the people in town excited. We get a lot of media coverage, and not just the motorcycle press, some car press. We had Current Driver this month, which is pretty exciting. It's something that's not happened before, I think.
Some of the other things that haven't happened before, we're going to have 125s here this year, the little GP 125s. Tell us about that.
I'm really excited about that. I think they're going to be really great at Laguna Seca. They put some fantastic racing on. Now, there's always about 12 guys slipstreaming and fighting elbow to elbow, and the World Championship's really tight at the moment between Rowdies and Cicada. They keep swapping places, and I'm sure it's going to come right down to Laguna Seca, and all of the races. The 500 class with Kevin and Wayne's coming really exciting. We couldn't ask for a better year, I don't think. And with some news coming up on South Africa that it's going to be cancelled, we could well end up being the last race of the year, which would make it really something. It's going to be a great weekend at Laguna Seca.
Well, I'm convinced, and it should be a great outing at Laguna Seca. Tell you what else is great. Formula 2 class. We'll have that action when we return. Welcome back to California Cycle Jam. The number 2 belongs to Chris D'Aluzio. He's getting ready to ride the 250cc machine in the Formula 2 class. An exciting class. Let me tell you, their action so far has been spectacular. Now, those hands belong to the man that is on top of the class in the point standings, and also the man that will sport the number 1 plate on his motorcycle by virtue of the championship won 1 year ago. That's Kurt Hall from Hilton Head, South Carolina. Here are the standings in the Formula 2 class. As I said, Kurt Hall is on top, but not by a lot of points.
No, he's not, Larry. Kurt Hall, a very versatile rider, but talk about versatility. You've got Rich Oliver, Chris D'Aluzio, Danny Walker, Chuck Sorensen, a very heavy top 5 in this field.
And all 5 of those riders are here to do battle in the Formula 2 class. Hall unloading his motorcycle. He gets a little bit of help from the Valvoline folks in competing out here. He is, you mentioned the versatility. This guy races so many classes, it's hard to tell whose pit you're going to find him in at any given time. Now, here's a look at the race winners. We said Hall was on top, but he's not running away with things. Road Atlanta, D'Aluzio nipped Oliver at the wire. Seattle Hall won, but Oliver had crashed on the last lap. Moroso, Michael Barnes was the dominant rider. So with 3 races down, we've had 3 separate winners. Oliver has yet to top the victory rostrum. He's been in the hunt a couple of times. We could easily look at the 4th winner out here today. Let's take a look at our race analysis. 1992, this event was won by Don Green. Race distance, we're going to go 14 laps. Weather, it's still that smothering 103 degrees. It is hot out there, and probably the track surface by now is even hotter than it was when we kicked off the Formula USA. There goes the green flag, and Formula 2, the 250cc motorcycles are underway. Larry, while they sort themselves out, let me ask you, this heat factor that I just mentioned, is it as much of a problem, more or less, in the 250 class?
Pardon me, probably more of a problem in the 250 class because these little 250cc bikes are 2 strokes, and heat is the arch nemesis of a 2-stroke machine. We've got a hot day, and these motorcycles are going to run hot all day long, so boy, you got to be so careful with piston seizures and things like that with a two-stroke in a hot day.
I'll tell you who was careful getting out front, did a great job, was Rich Oliver. He's fresh off the victory in that Formula USA, looking to double up here today, being chased by the points leader, Kurt Hall. Holding down the number 3 position, Nick Einach. He can't make up his mind if he's a journalist or a racer. He devotes about the same amount of time to each. In the 4 slot, Danny Walker, and rounding out the top 5 is Chris D'Aluzio. This field is packed up, set for some action racing, and man, the good guys are all up front.
This is just about what I expected to see, Larry, on this racetrack today, on just about any given racetrack, really. With these top 5 guys, this is the cream of the crop out there in front.
Oh, it's going to be great. These guys are already, they're starting to work. Look at this. Here comes Einach to the outside. He's trying to get around Hall. He's not going to make it this time around. I'd like to talk a little bit more, though, about these motorcycles.
Let's take a look at the machine that sets the standards in Formula 2 racing. 250cc liquid-cooled, 215 pounds, 85 horsepower, and a 6-speed transmission. Aerodynamic, light, good handling, and a great power-to-weight ratio.
Back to the race action, and I'd like to give a call to an old friend of mine, retired dirt tracker Sammy Tanner. He's turned entrepreneur in the motorcycle industry, owns a company called Sammy Tanner Distributing, and they're sponsoring the Formula 2 race out here today. As a matter of fact, he's done so well with that distributing business, he's turned into the largest ride distributor in the United States. Meanwhile, Nick Einach has taken over the number 1 position. Right behind him comes Oliver, and look at here, here's Walker. He's climbed up to the 3 spot. Man, look at that battle for the number 3 position. There's no room at all out there.
What an incredible race, Larry. We're still early on in the race, so it's anybody's race yet. Any of those top 5, 6 motorcycles could jockey for position and take over any position up there in the top 6 places. This is great 250 action at its best.
Well, it's going to go on for a while here this afternoon, and you'll stay tuned, I hope, to see how it comes out. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Sammy Tanner Distributing Formula 2 race, and would you look at the battle going on for the number 1 position. Nick Einach, rider number 6, Danny Walker, rider number 5, and Walker, with a good move on the inside, takes over the number 1 spot. He's the 3rd leader that we have had in this class today.
The bikes are evenly matched, Larry, and it's pretty clear that everybody's made the proper tire choice today as well. This is the combination that makes for such great racing like we're seeing on the racetrack right now.
I tell you what, you put good riders on machines that are fairly equal, and that's the kind of action you get, and we're certainly getting it out here today. Danny Walker, just a couple of years ago, was a privateer and since recruited by the Southwest Motorsports team. Earlier, we had a chance to talk with Danny, and I asked him about the pressure, the difference between being a privateer and riding for the team.
Myself personally, I perform better under tons of pressure. I'm a pressure kind of guy. I mean, I really like the pressure. The more pressure, the more people, the more I have to, hang it out on the edge. I like that, and so it drives me to go faster. I go faster every lap, and the team is a couple of guys, on the team come in from the race at Phoenix, and they said, "Man, you look like a totally different guy." And I go, "Well, I'm thinking about riding. I'm not thinking about did I tighten the axle bolt, do I have the right jets, and is it going to seize? It's not my job. My job is to make the bike go as fast as I can and come back to the team. And with the crew we've got and my mechanic, Rob and Holly, they really just make it as easy as possible."
Well, Danny Walker says he likes pressure. He's getting it in spades out here today, getting it from his teammate, Chris D'Aluzio. Now there is Nick Einach. He slipped back to the number 3 position, and following Einach, and
oh, Larry! Looks like Einach went down in turn 9. Nasty place to get off. A very, very fast part of the racetrack. The Sport Rider editor is up. He's okay. Oh,
man,
boy.
He had to have been going about 150 miles an hour. He hit the dirt, skidded, he rolled a couple times and bounced right up. He's not limping. Everything apparently is okay with Einach, but he is out of this one. Now back to the battle with the teammates. And Larry, I'd like to know, do we play favorites here? Are we talking about team tactics? What's going on between these two guys?
That Southwest Motorsports team, I don't think has any orders. I think these guys are out there for the win. If they were really duking it out, they had somebody behind them for the points. I don't know. We're going into the last lap, Larry, and I think these guys are going to go for it all the way. Look, we got 4 bikes that could win this race.
Oh, we do. Jason Payton, rider number 68, has slid into that number 4 position as Kurt Hall has gone backwards a couple of spots. Meanwhile, out front, let's set it up again. It's Danny Walker, Chris D'Aluzio, Rich Oliver in 3rd, and Payton in 4th. And we are on the last lap dash. After all of this racing, this tremendous racetrack, the heat, the wind, it boils down to this, and it is exciting.
4 bikes coming down to just a few turns, and it's going to, that turn 8, turn 9 area is going to be critical. There's been some great passing going on there today. All these bikes are so close. They're so even.
D'Aluzio watching the rear wheel of his teammate Walker. I think he would like to make a move here, but I think maybe he's being maybe a little overcautious because of that teammate situation.
You know, the draft can be a factor here at Willow Springs. When you're going through turn 8 and turn 9 and coming back out onto the front straightaway, the draft can be a very, very important part. Races can be won with the draft here at Willow, so he's going to stay right on his tail.
You're right, and that's what he's setting up right now. He is following the groove. He's following the line that is being taken by Walker. He's not varying 2 or 3 inches either direction. He's staying right up behind the rear wheel, and he's going to make a slingshot move. Here he goes to the outside, but Walker has the good line on the inside, and D'Aluzio loses about 6-7 bike lengths in the process. Now we're headed for the checkered flag, and D'Aluzio is going to make one more shot at it, and whoa! D'Aluzio, it looked like, pushed his teammate off the racetrack. Oliver took the win. Unbelievable. But it looked like D'Aluzio pushed his teammate, the leader, Danny Walker, off the track.
Talk about sitting in the right place at the right time. Rich Oliver was there.
Oliver takes the win. D'Aluzio finishes in a number 2 position. Walker 3rd. He was the leader. Then Payton and Sorensen. Let's go down to winner's circle and find out what happened. Whereas Glenn Billings is with our winner, Rich Oliver.
Great drafting maneuver on the final lap. Rich, tell us what happened on the last couple of turns.
Well, those guys were riding a lot better than me in the corners, but I had a lot of speed on them. So it was just one of those things where they left an opening for me to draft them. They both banged into each other a couple times, and that scrubbed off a little bit of speed. And my bike was quite a bit faster in 6th gear, so I was able to just slingshot by. And that's one of the neatest races. I mean, usually when you're back there in 4th, 5th, you don't have a chance of winning. And I never gave up. I thought, well, I got a fast bike. It's possible. So anyway, the Performance South Yamaha did the day today.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
So Rich Oliver, taking the win, becomes the 4th rider in as many races to win so far this season in the Formula 2 class. And also he jumped to the top of the points leaderboard. Kurt Hall, who was the leader, dropped down to a tie for 2nd. He finished 6th here this afternoon. Danny Walker, Chuck Sorensen rounding out the top 5. As we take one final look at the finish in this Formula 2 class, we're going to go down to Sammy Tanner, the sponsor of the event, and find out why his interest lies in the 250s.
Well, the 250 is a Grand Prix bike, and the Grand Prix is where it's really what it's about racing. It's close and it's fast, and today I got real lucky with 3 rides finishing 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
So your riders had the Uri helmets on. You had a great day at the racetrack, Sammy. It's we need more people like you that coming out of the industry and getting interested in the business.
Well, this is what it's all about, and the series is going to get larger. WERA being the largest sanctioning body, and with the 7-race national series, it's just going to get larger.
Well, thanks, Sammy, and I'll second those words. A lot of action yet to come, and next we'll see the 2nd leg of the Formula USA class. And we're set to go with the 2nd leg of Formula USA.
We had an exciting first leg, Larry, with Rich Oliver taking the win, but the green flag is about to come down on our 2nd round of Formula USA, and green flag it is as Chuck Graves, the number 24 Suzuki, gets the whole shot.
Graves out front, number 69 Robert Miller running into number 2 position, and back in the pack he was caught napping on the gate, the first leg winner, Rich Oliver.
Does look like he went to sleep over there. He had the pole position for this race based on his winning the first leg, but he is back there a ways. But boy,
let me ask you this: the 250, does that make a difference off the start?
It does. They're difficult to get off of the starting line. They're a pipey motorcycle. The revs come up way high. They're difficult, but more difficult to get off the line than the 1100s.
Well, I would point out that we did not see Oliver in the early going of leg number 1, so I would expect that if this race follows that pattern, we will see him pushing the leaders here very, very shortly. A surprise entry in the 2nd leg, Dave Sadowski. You remember he was the leader of leg number 1.
He went out with a mechanical failure in his motorcycle. Well, he borrowed the one that belonged to Joe Brett Williams. Williams, with an injured shoulder, could not ride, and Sadowski starting at the tail end of the pack. But most importantly, he is in this one.
And he's on a Honda, Larry, one of the few Hondas in the race, a 900 Honda built by Mike Velasco, one of the foremost Honda tuners in the world. So Sadowski's really got a good piece of equipment out there to go to work with in this second leg.
Meanwhile, when you talk about going to work, you've got to talk about this guy, Chuck Graves. He has done nothing but put about 15 bike lengths between himself and the rest of the field. Oliver starting to move up slightly, but it's still Miller running in the number 2 position. Here comes Martin, and the field is moving up. We're going to be moving out for a commercial break. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the California Cycle Jam, Willow Springs Raceway. It's been a tremendous afternoon of WERA road racing. Now, this is the second leg of the Formula USA. Here's your leader, rider number 24, Chuck Graves. This guy has some kind of lead. Now watch this. Here comes Graves, and would you look at the gap between himself and the rest of the field? However, scope this out. The battle for the number 2, 3, 4, 5. There are a bunch of riders. They're all hooked together, and any one of them at any given time could jump up 1 or 2 positions. Now we're looking at Robert Miller in second. Paul Harrell is running in a number 3 spot. And you remember, Larry, we talked about Rich Oliver not getting a good start. Well, he has moved all the way up to the number 4 position.
And that was the pattern in the first leg, Larry, as the 250 is a little more difficult to get off the line, but he did play catch-up to the 1100s.
Well, we'll see if Oliver can duplicate his feat and win this second leg. You know, we've talked about tires, we've talked about heat, but we've not talked about oil, and that is by far the most critical part of any engine. And I'll tell you what has really been on top lately is synthetic oil. Reason is it burns so much cleaner in the 2-stroke engines, keeps the pistons clean, and lets the engines run cooler. Mike Velasco, though, says that you got a great big 4-stroke at home? Try synthetic.
Well, I would definitely recommend it, but you know, if you're buying a new machine, it's best to at least put 1,000 miles on the bike with just regular petroleum oil to make sure the rings are seated and everything's all broke in, and then put the synthetic oil, because it'll give you more horsepower. It's pretty slick, and you'll have far better protection on your engine, and it'll last you a lot longer.
Words of advice from a man who's tuned for some of the best and turned out some of the best engines that you'll find anywhere. As a matter of fact, as we watch this battle for the number 2 position led by Miller, one of the engines that he built is running now up inside, according to WERA scoring, the top 10, that one being ridden by Dave Sadowski. And I think that's quite a feat.
Boy, no kidding, Larry, for Sadowski to come back on a completely different machine and to be able to get up into the top 10 is phenomenal.
2 questions. How far can Sadowski move inside the top 10? And can Oliver gain on the leader, Chuck Graves? We'll be back to find out right after this. Welcome back. We're in the closing stages of leg number 2 in the Formula USA class. It's WERA road racing at Willow Springs. It has been exciting. Now that's the battle for the number 2 position. Chuck Graves is way out in front. He's long gone. Larry, it's been some kind of afternoon. He started this round on that Joe Brett Williams machine, tuned by Mike Velasco, and I would point out that he started at the tail end of the starting grid, so he has really poured on the gas. Now here's the battle for second. Here comes Oliver. He's up to the inside. He makes a move. He goes by Miller. Oliver has taken over the number 2 position. What a ride Oliver is. And Oliver goes down. Miller plows into him. Both riders are off the track. Now Oliver is setting up. Miller is getting up, and Miller is heading over to see if Oliver is okay. Man, that was some kind of crash. Here are the two riders that benefited from that crash. Harold moved to the second position, Sadowski in third, and there's Oliver. He's up and pushing the bike away from the crash scene. That's good to see. Here's the finish. Chuck Graves takes the checkered flag. Let's back up on the track. Here's the battle for the number 2 position. Harold is in it. Sadowski wants it. Sadowski slings to the outside, but Harold cuts all the way across the track. There is no draft there, and Harold is going to take the number 2 position. Sadowski ends up third. What an exciting conclusion to a great afternoon of racing. Graves was the winner, and I'll tell you right now, if they gave medals or if they had votes for who was the most exciting rider of the day, it would go to Sadowski in this second leg, all the way from last place up to third. Larry Coleman has left the broadcast booth and is in winner's circle. He's with Chuck Graves. Larry?
You ran away with the second leg, Chuck. Tell us a little bit about it.
You know, the 93 Suzuki GSX-R 1100 just worked flawlessly. You know, Tom Houseworth worked real hard on the bike, and everybody on the whole crew, and the Dunlop tires just worked great. It's just, you know, we were just gone from the start. These new Suzuki water coolers were just fantastic.
In the first round, you had a little problem with some oil, but you still finished well.
Right, we had a leak on Dave Sadowski's bike we were dicing with, and I covered up her face shield and couldn't see too much, and got a little dirt on it after some dust from the wind, and I wiped it. It made it worse, and so I had to slow down a little bit just so I could finish and make sure I was in a position where I could still win if I won the second leg.
And that you did, very convincingly. Our overall winner, Chuck Graves, congratulations.
Thanks, Larry.
Here are the overall finishing positions. You arrive at the overall spots by combining the performances in both legs. Graves, Martin, Harold, D'Alucio, and Walker. Now, Larry Coleman has caught up with the star of the second leg, Dave Sadowski. Larry?
In the second leg, a tremendous ride. From the back of the pack, you came up to the front. Tell us about it.
It was good. It was the first time I've ever rode a real built CBR 900 Honda. It's Mike Velasco's bike, and it's just he's a factory Honda man, and the horsepower was really there. It was equal to my bike, and I'm very fortunate to get the opportunity. It goes to show you sometimes when the chips are down, a good blessing can come, and that's what's happened here today.
You could use some good luck, Dave. Congratulations, and we'll look for you at the next event.
Thanks. Come on, check us out, Formula USA. It's awesome.
Words of wisdom, and I agree, Dave Sadowski. Formula USA is indeed awesome, and so too are you. Great ride. Here's a look at the standings after 4 races in Formula USA. Michael Martin holds on to the number 1 position, followed by Chuck Graves, then Chris D'Alucio, Danny Walker, and rounding out the top 5 is Rich Oliver. Now, we can't leave you without a final look at that fabulous Formula 2 finish. Watch this. Out of nowhere, Rich Oliver streaks to the head of the pack to take the win. Talk about excitement. It gets no better than that. However, it was kind of a bittersweet day for Oliver. Here he is in the second leg. He was on his way to the overall win in the Formula USA class. He went down. He was plowed into by Miller, and that ended the competition here today. The official hotel for Willow Springs International Raceway is the Essex House. It's your home away from home. For reservations, call 805-948-0961. On behalf of Glenn Billings and Larry Coleman, I'm Larry Myers. Hope to see you on down the road, and we hope you enjoyed the action here on Cycle World.
Cycle World presents AMA Motocross.